You've never been to office hours before. You want to go, but you don't know what the expectation is. So, what should you expect out of office hours? So, office hours is really a place for students to come to your profs or TAs or instructors to ask questions. It's definitely not structured in any way. It's intended for the students to come prepared with questions to ask the prof, instructors, TAs. So, if you have any questions, be sure to attend office hours and ask those questions. In the past, some office hours might have been, held in the person's office or some desk that the TA has access to, and you line up in the hallway and you ask them one by one. Some office hours is held in a classroom and people can just ask questions and you can sit there and listen if you don't have any questions. But in the online environment right now, it may be on an appointment basis. It might have been like a virtual Zoom link, for example, where students can just drop in and listen on. So don't be shy attending office hours. And here are the benefits to the office hour discussion versus emailing a prof. So a lot of students might think I can just ask my prof this question via the Zoom chat or discussion board or emailing them. So why would I even want to spend the time to go to office hours? So the issue with an email is that, of course, you can ask a question and they'll answer it. But a lot of students are shy emailing the prof, especially if after getting the answer from the prof, they're still not understanding the concept or the instructions, for example. And they're embarrassed to follow up and say, hey, I still don't understand. Can you further elaborate? So if you're the type of student who is like that, or you're currently facing a situation where you've already asked a question and you're still not clear and you're embarrassed to, ask again because you don't want to be seen as stupid or dumb, for example, go to office hours because it takes that embarrassment away, because in email or text, we can't really gauge whether or not the student is understanding the concept properly. But when you're doing an online office hour, or even whether it be in person or online, regardless of whether we can see your face or not, of course, if we can see your face, it's even better because we can see your facial expressions. But even just through your voice, we can hear if there's any hesitations, and that's a way for us to, and that's a method for us to gauge whether or not the student's understanding the concept properly. And if not, we will likely re-explain it to you in a different way until you get it. So the benefit of office hour is that it allows us to gauge whether or not the student is understanding, and it removes that embarrassment or anxious factor out of the student's hands in terms of following up with further questions should they not have understood the initial email or response properly. So if you have never been to office hours, here's how it works. It's really unstructured. It's intended for students to come in and ask us questions. We don't have any questions for you. So before going to office hours, think about, what kind of questions you want to ask the prof. And some prof just might re-ask you the same question. So for example, what I really like to do is if a student comes to me and say, hey, I don't understand, logic models, for example, then I would ask them, well, can you explain to me what you think a logic model is? Because obviously when students come to me for help, they know that, they're not understanding properly. But in order for me to understand why they're not understanding a concept properly, I need to think like them in order for me to suss out, okay, like where has their reasoning gone wrong? So if a student ever comes to me, for example, and say, hey, I don't understand logic model, can you explain it to me in office hours? Then I will ask you that question back and for you to explain what you think in your head is a logic model, so I can kind of see where your thinking has gone wrong and I can correct it for you and explain to you why what you had initially thought is incorrect. So if you're going to office hours for the first time, be prepared with questions, and that also be prepared to answer questions from your profs. They might re-ask you that same question, and don't be shy in telling you what you think. There's no right or wrong answers. Obviously, you're at office hours because you're struggling and you have a question and you don't know. We understand that. If we do ask you that question or re-ask you that same question you just asked us, take that as an opportunity to tell them exactly what you think, because if you're wrong, you're wrong. But it's a good thing because we can actually understand, where your thinking has gone wrong, and for us to help you. So don't be shy or embarrassed if you give them the wrong answer. We don't think much of it. It's just a way for us to kind of suss out, where the student's thinking has gone wrong. And also, if any of you is looking to go into grad school later on and you need references, going to office hours is also a great way for you to know your prof and for the prof to know you. And it's a great way for us to remember students and for us to, write your reference letters in the future. So it's a win-win in terms of, getting better grades, understanding course concept better, and also, potentially getting reference letters out of it. So if you haven't been to office hours before and you're wondering if you should go, my tip here is, definitely go. But before you go, think about what questions you have and prepare to answer any questions that they may have. So I think office hours is a great tool for students, and I often think it's underutilized. So if you're thinking for it, don't be shy and don't be hesitant. Definitely go for it.